हरि ओम। ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री हिरण्यगर्भाय नमः। ओम श्री महाविष्णवे नमः। ओम श्री महादेवाय नमः। ओम श्री महादुर्गायै नमः। ओम श्री राम रामाय नमः। ओम श्री सद्गुरवे नमः। ओम सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। ओम गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। समस्त जन कल्याणी निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। शङ्करं परमानन्दं ब्रह्मनिष्ठं यतीश्वरं भाष्यभ्रान्तिहरं वन्दे शुद्धज्ञानैकबोधकम्। ॐ नमः शिवाय 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 ॐ नमः शिवाय। नमः पार्वती पतये। हर हर महादेव। हरि ओम हरि ओम। We'll begin with the Shanti mantra. Om Apyayantu mamangani Vak pranaschakshushrotramatho Balamindriyani cha sarvani Sarvam brahmopanishadam Maham brahma nirakuryam Ma brahma nirakarot Anirakaranamastva nirakaranam me astu Tadatmani nirateyo upanishatsu dharmaha Te mayi santu Te mayi santu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. We'll chant the mantras of the 14th section. Yatha somya purusham gandharebhyah abhinadhakshmaniya tam tato atijane vishrujet sa yatha tatra prangva udangva adharangva pratyangva pradmayita abhinadhaksha आनीतो अभिनद्धाक्षो विश्रुतः तस्य यथाभिनहनं प्रमुच्य प्रब्रूयाद् एतां दिशं गन्धारा एतां दिशं व्रजेति स ग्रामात् ग्रामं पृच्छन् पण्डितो मेधावी गन्धारान् एव उपसम्पद्येत एवमेव इह आचार्यवान् पुरुषो वेद तस्य तावदेव चिरं यावन्न विमोक्षेथ सम्पत्स्य इति. स एषोणिमा एतदात्म्यमिदं सर्वं तत्सत्यं स आत्मा तत्त्वमसि श्वेतकेतो इति भूय एव मा भगवान् विज्ञापयतु इति. तथा सौम्येति होवाच. So the teacher, Uddalaka Muni, reveals that Brahma Vidya through this famous Mahavakya, Tattvamasi. He tells Shvetaketu that you are that Brahma. The Brahma which is the very cause of this world, which is present in this world, which is the very indicated as Satyam Jnanam Anantam, that is your own self, the self which you are free from all the upadhis. That self is Brahma. Shvetaketu had various doubts, which the teacher clears, giving various examples. So finally, the teacher says that though Brahma is present in this world, in the self, in this body, but one needs a proper praman. Only one who has a teacher, who is Shrotriya Brahmanishtha, such a person will be able to recognize the self as Brahma. This he explains with the help of this beautiful example of the person from Gandhara Desh, who is blindfolded and taken far away. And then a compassionate person unties him, removes his blindfold, and points out the direction of Gandhara. Then he walks on that path, asking on the way also, and finally reaches Gandhara. Similarly, in our life, we are also lost in this forest of this body, gross body and the subtle body, blindfolded with all delusion. So when we, by our punya karma, get the blessings of a teacher, the teacher guides us towards our own supreme home, our own self, which is Brahma. So with the guidance of the teacher, we come to realize our own self as Brahma. That Brahma which is Anima, which is extremely subtle, which is the self of all, which is Satyam, which is yourself, that you are, he Shvetaketu. So after hearing this, Shvetaketu had one more doubt, which Bhagwan Shankaracharya in his Bhashya he explains. So Acharyavan Vidvan Ena Kramena Sat Sampadyate. So it was said that a person who has got Acharya, who has a teacher, he attains that Sat. So the krama, the sequence through which this person attains that Sat Brahma, merges into that Sat Brahma, that sequence, that krama, Shvetaketu want to know. So, ena kramena sat sampadyate tam kramam drushtantena. So, with the help of an example, tena bhoya eva ma bhagwan vidnyapayatu. You please tell me again. So, the teacher says, okay, I will tell you. So, tatha somyati hovacha. Now, in this 15th section, with the help of an example, the sequence in which the wise person attains that Sat is pointed out. So let us chant mantra number 1, section 15. Purusham somya utopatapinam nyatayah paryupasate janasi mam iti tasya yavanna vang manasi sampadyate mana prane pranatejasi teja parasyam devatayam tavajjanati. Again. Purusham somya utopatapinam nyatayah paryupasate janasi mam iti tasya yavanna vang manasi sampadyate mana prane pranastejasi teja parasyam devatayam tavajjanati. So here the teacher gives the example of a dying person and in which sequence he dies. This was mentioned in the one of the previous section also. So Shankaracharya writes, Ki Purusham he somya utopatapinam jwaradi upatapavantam. A dying, ailing person, feverish, ailing, dying person is there, and his relatives and all are surrounding him. So, Nyatayoho Bandhavaha, his relatives are there around him, and this person is lying almost nearing his death. So the people around, they inquire, Parivaryah upasate mumurshum. So they ask that dying person, so this death is so mysterious. Though we hear about people dying, and we might have seen people dying also, but still it is a great mystery only. In Mahabharata also, the famous incident is there where that Yaksha asks a question to Yudhishthir, that what is the most surprising in this world? What is the greatest wonder in this world? So Yudhishthir said that though every day we hear about people dying. Still, we have this notion that I will live for a long time. That is a great wonder. Death, nobody can escape death, means death of this body. So many people have come into this world and they have achieved a lot of greatness in this world, great kings and emperors, and very rich people, very knowledgeable people, very strong, powerful. They live for some time in this world and just go away. And most of them are just forgotten. Only a rare few might be remembered for a long time who have really brought about some transformation in this world through their presence. Even when they do that, slowly we don't remember their faces or their personality. Just their names remain. Like Valmiki ji wrote Ramayana, his name alone is there. We don't know how he actually looked like. Shankaracharya ji, his name is there and his writings are there. Some people, great kings and who had conquered so many kingdoms, they are also gone. Their names are there and we study about them in history books, but they are gone. So that is what life is. We are born in this world and we die. But even though we see not only human beings but animal, birds, plant dying, and some of them we also kill them for our own selfish needs. Animals, birds are killed to eat or for some other purpose. But still, death is a great mystery. That one moment we are expressing through this body, we see a person expressing through the body, and next moment he is no more. The body is left behind, but the person has left the body. The body just remains, physical body just remains behind like a discarded dress, but the person who was expressing through the body just disappears. We cannot interact with that person anymore. So this mystery is revealed in our Shastras. That which we cannot comprehend with our own senses, that which we cannot understand with the help of all our experiments and all, those secrets are revealed in our Vedas, in the Upanishads. So here the sequence of death, how dying happens for everyone in general, is depicted. So this person who is ailing and on his deathbed, his relatives, his friends are surrounding him. Nyatayo bandavaha parivaryah upasate mumurshum. So they ask this dying person, means they talk to him. They want to continue communicating with this person, want this person to be with them. But they notice that slowly he withdraws from this world, doesn't seem to recognize anything around. So the people around ask him that Janasi Mam Tava Pitaram. His father is also there. This person is sometimes there is no such thing as old age or young or sick or something. Whenever the prarabdha of this body is over, a person dies. That prarabdha is over, then the Yamraji takes that person away. Once Yamraji asked Brahmaji that you have given me such a job to take away people's life. People will really curse me, they will talk ill about me. So Brahmaji told him that don't worry, people will not blame you. They will blame something else only. Though you are taking away their life, they will blame heart attack, kidney failure, some other problem, old age, accident. So when a person dies, we inquire, how did he die? That is our favorite question. When somebody dies, we want to know how he died. So we say, नहीं उसके किडनी फेल हो गई, हार्ट अटैक आ गया, ब्रेन स्ट्रोक हो गया. So something or other we tell the reason, but the real reason is उसके प्रारब्ध खत्म हो गए. Because people with good kidneys also die. People with good heart also die. Young people also die. Rich people also die. Poor people also die. Famous people also die. Infamous people also die. Death comes to everyone. When the prarabdha of this body is finished, then there is death. So the people inquire, Janasi Mam Tava Pitaram, you don't know me, I am your father. Do you recognize me? Then his children are also there. His son comes and asks, Ki Janasi Mam Tava Putram, I am your son. Do you recognize me? So he just stares. Bhrataram, I am your brother. Bhrataram va iti prachantaha. Everyone, they inquire that do you recognize me? Tasya mumurshyoho yavan na vang manasi sampadyate manat prane pranat tejasi teja parasyam devatayam iti etat uktartham. So this person recognizes them as long as he is alive. But once he speaks also to them, but then his karmendriyas get withdrawn into the mind. When the karmendriyas get withdrawn into the mind, the person no longer is able to speak. Then though all the karmendriyas are present in the sense the body is there, but the person is unable to speak because our sense of this karmendriyas function through this body only, but they are subtler than the body. So they get withdrawn into the mind, then the karmendriyas no longer function. Means our speech, our hands, our legs, our organ of excretion and urination no longer function. But our mind is active, our indriyas, sense organs are active, so that person looks around, he recognizes who are around him, but then the senses also get withdrawn. The sense of perception, the eyes, ears, nose, skin, tongue, means the sense of taste, sense of smell, all these sense organs which are also subtle, which function through the golakas. These are the physical equipments are called golakas. So they function through the golakas, but they are subtler than them. So they also are withdrawn into the mind. Then the person no longer sees, hears, tastes. But his mind continues to function, but he is no longer aware of the outer world, just like a dream. Then the mind also is withdrawn into the pranas. The mind also gets withdrawn into the prana. Then that person experiences something like sleep only. So mind gets withdrawn into the pranas. Then the pancha pranas, they also function through various parts, various points in our body. So they also withdraw themselves from all their location. So the person may just, his body may shake and all as the pranas withdraw from various locations. See, prana is Bhagwan's that Shakti only, which is expressing in this body as Pancha Prana, as life, which is so mysterious. And it functions through the body, but at the time of death, it withdraws itself from the entire body. But still, the pranas remain in the body. So people around, they touch the dying person, and if there is warmth in the body, they say that he is still alive. The warmth is still there in the body. But then the pranas, the warmth also is withdrawn, and the pranas, along with the mind and the senses and the karmendriyas, and enveloped in that warmth of the body, leaves the body. It leaves the body because it is different from the body. The Sukshma Sharir is different from the Sthula Sharir. Sukshma Sharir is different from the Sthula Sharir. The Sukshma Sharir functions through the Sthula Sharir when we are alive, but it is different. So the pranas and all this other aspect of the Sukshma Sharir withdraws from this body, from the physical body. And the physical body then is left. So when it is touched, it is cold to touch. So the people say he has passed away. So this is the sequence through which one dies. But here Shankaracharya ji in his Bhashya, he writes very interestingly कि संसारिणो यो मरण क्रमः स एव अयं विदुषो अपि सत्संपत्ति क्रम इति एतद् आह. He says the sequence of this death for for an ignorant person, for a samsari, the sequence through which he dies means the karmendriyas are withdrawn, then the mind is withdrawn into the pranas, then pranas are withdrawn into the warmth of the body, and then through with that warmth the everything merges into that param devata, parasyam devatayam. Means in that Sat Brahma, this Sukshma Sharir with pranas and everything merges into the Sat Brahma. Their separate form doesn't exist. Just as a pot is made from clay, but when it is destroyed, it again goes back into clay. Or an ornament which is made from gold, when you melt that ornament, then again it merges into gold. Then the separate form of that ornament doesn't remain. Only gold alone remains. Similarly, when the Sukshma Sharir is expressing in this body, then its separate constituents remain. The 19 parts, the Pancha Karmendriyas, Pancha Jnanendriyas, Pancha Pranas, Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankar, they remain. They are like different forms. But when the death happens, then the Sukshma Sharir merges into that Sat Brahma and remains as Sat Brahma alone. Then there is no Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankar. Then there are no Indriyas, there are no Karmendriyas, Jnanendriyas, Pancha Pranas. Everything remains as Sat Brahma. This is how an ordinary ignorant person dies. But Shankaracharya writes, even a wise person who has gained self-knowledge, see, as I said, that while living in this body and using our mana, buddhi, indriyas, etc., we have to gain self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is not something which we gain in our sleep. Self-knowledge is not something which we gain in meditation. Self-knowledge we have to gain through contemplation while awake. We have to, with our buddhi, we have to understand that I am Brahma. With the help of our buddhi, we have to understand that this I, this aham, this pratyagatma is Brahma. So that understanding happens in the through the buddhi, and one who has gained this understanding and firm conviction means understanding free of all doubts. Such a person is called an enlightened person, a sthita prajna. In Gita also, Bhagavan describes a sthita prajna, an enlightened person, a jivan mukta, one who has gained this knowledge that I am Brahma and who is well established in this knowledge. He is called a sthita prajna, jivan mukta, or vidwan. But this enlightened person also dies, in the sense his body dies. An enlightened person also drops his body. Once the prarabdha of that body is over, then that body gets dropped. So many enlightened persons, we hear about them. They lived in this world, they guided others, they blessed the whole world. And as long as their body was there, we could interact with them, we could speak to them, we could hear them, we could get their blessings. But once the time comes, once the prarabdha of the body is over, even they drop their body, physical body. And the krama in which they leave this body is same. Shankaracharya says it is same. Samsarinaha yo marana kramaha sa eva ayam vidusho api sat sampatti krama iti etad aha. So foolish person, when he dies, he goes through this sequence and becomes one with Brahma. An enlightened person dies through this sequence and becomes one with Brahma. And that is what is said now in the next mantra also. Let us chant. Atha yad asya vam manasi sampadyate mana prane pranastejasi teja parasyam devatayam atha na janati. अथ यद अस्य वांग मनसि संपद्यते मन प्राणे प्राणस्तेजसि तेजः परस्यां देवतायाम् अथ न जानाति. अथ now yad asya vaang manasi sampadhyate, when this person's vaang means speech represents all the karmendriyas. So when his karmendriyas attain his mind, manasi sampadhyate merges into the mind. The karmendriyas, when they merge into the mind, mana prane, then the mind, along with the senses, they merge into the pranas. And then the pranas, they gets enveloped into the warmth of the body, and all of them leave the body and become one. This teja becomes one with that param devata. So prana merges into teja, and teja parasyam devatayam merges into the param devata. Param devata is that Sat Brahman. Atha na janati, when such a thing happens, then that person no longer knows, no longer communicates. Then we cannot interact with that person. Then he has left the body. See, just as we use our mobile phone also, and we communicate with some people. We communicate with some people through our mobile phone, etc. But then when that person stops the call, ends the call, we no longer are able to communicate with that person. Though the mobile is there, but we cannot communicate because that person has withdrawn himself from this mobile. Similarly, we communicate with this world through this body and through our sukshma sharir. But this lasts till the prarabdha of this body lasts. Once the prarabdha of the body is over, then we withdraw from this body and we no longer can communicate with this world. So, na janati, this person doesn't know. Now, Shankaracharya writes in his commentary, because the mantras themselves do not convey the whole thing, they just indicate, they just hint, but the real message we come to understand when we read Shankaracharya's Bhashya. So, Shankaracharya writes, कि परस्याम देवतायाम तेजसी संपन्ने अथ न जानाति. Once that tej along with the sukshma sharir merges into that param devata, that is Sat Brahman, then that person no longer knows. Means we cannot interact with that person who has died. But the important point here is, Shankaracharya writes, but avidvans tu sata utthaya prag bhavitam vyagradi bhavam deva manushyadi bhavam va vishati. Shankaracharya writes कि an ignorant person, when he dies and when his sukshma sharir merges into that Sat Brahman, because his avidya is not eliminated, therefore his karmas are not eliminated, such a person is born again. That sukshma sharir again wakes up in another body. His sukshma sharir wakes up in another body. See, just as again to give the example of the mobile, we buy a new mobile, then we have the SIM card, we put it in, and then the mobile comes alive with our all our information and our number. And then through that mobile we can communicate with this world and others can communicate with me. So the SIM card functions through that mobile. But when I remove that SIM card, by itself it doesn't function. I may have that SIM card in my hand, but with that alone I cannot make a call or receive any call. It requires that instrument to express. So once it is put into another instrument, it starts expressing. In the same way, our sukshma sharir is like a SIM card. It requires a body to express. So human body, animal body, bird body, and it expresses through it. And that sukshma sharir will continue to be there as long as that ignorance is there. If ignorance is not destroyed, then due to ignorance, the confusions which are there are also not destroyed. And because of this confusion, we perform actions, so the samskars of all these actions are also there. So in order to fulfill those actions, to fulfill those desires, we are born again. Means that sukshma sharir wakes up in another body. Vyagradi of an animal, of a tiger or a lion. Vyagradi bhavam or deva. One can become a devta also. If punya karma is there, we might again wake up into a devata's body. Or manushyadi, or we might wake up in a human body again. So once we die, we become one with that Sat Brahma, but do not remain merged into that Sat, but again are born into animal body or Devta's body or human body. So Manushyadi Bhavam Va Vishati. But what happens to a wise person when he dies, when his body gets dropped? Shankaracharya writes, Ki Vidvans to, on the other hand, the Vidvan, the wise person. And who is the wise person? Ki Shastra Acharya Upadesha Janita Jnana Deepa Prakashitam Sat Brahmatmanam. One who has gained knowledge. From where did he gain knowledge? Shastra Acharya Upadesha Janita. He got knowledge from the Upadesh. He received from the Shastra. Shastra means the Upanishads. And the Acharya and the teacher. Means teacher gives the knowledge which is conveyed in the Upanishad. And by listening to his Acharya properly, through Shravan and Manan and Nididhyasan, this person has gained this knowledge of the self. So Shastra Acharya Upadesha Janita Jnana Deepa Prakashitam. He is shining, that Jnana Deepa is shining within him. The lamp of knowledge shines in this person. So when an enlightened person, he drops this body, Sat Brahmatmanam Pravishya, his self also merges into that Brahma, Sat Brahma, just as a ignorant person merges, this wise person also merges in that Sat Brahma. But the difference is, na avartata iti esha sat sampatti kramaha. But he is not born again. He is no longer born again. Ignorant person is born again and again and again. See, again to remind you, revision, our sthula sharir, which is made from the five elements which have undergone the process of Panchikaranam and then later on Trivrit Karanam 3 times. Our Sukshma Sharir also is born from the Apara Prakriti of that Brahma. And the pranas are the para prakriti of that Brahma. So through this Sthula Sharir and Sukshma Sharir, I, who am really Brahma, express through them. I express through the Sukshma Sharir and Sthula Sharir. That is what I consider as myself. When I say I am knowing this world, I am enjoying, I am suffering, I am doing this action. So that I am really Brahma, but because of not knowing myself as Brahma, I identify with the Sthula Sharir and Sukshma Sharir and consider myself to be these bodies. So, like this pot is there, and just imagine the space. So, I am like space, which is all pervading. The all pervading space, that is what really I am. But I don't know that. And I am present, that space is present in this pot also. So I know myself only through the pot. So I know myself as inside the pot. Therefore, what I know about myself is inside this body. That is what is called the Pratyek the innermost self. And I know myself from the functioning of this body and the mind, etc. So the body performs actions. So I consider myself as the doer of action. Through the mind, intellect, I know. So I consider myself as the knower. Through the mind, intellect, also I experience the joys and sorrows. So I consider myself as the enjoyer. So all this knowledge about myself which I have is with respect to this upadhis only, with respect to the physical body as well as the sukshma sharir. So that identification is there, and this identification is with this stula sharir happens when I am born in this body, but the identification with the sukshma sharir is there from beginningless time. So consider this as the sukshma sharir. So the identification with this sukshma sharir is there from the beginningless time. This sukshma sharir, which is made up of 19 parts, I have identified with it as myself. So even when I leave this body, I continue my identification with the sukshma sharir. Therefore, the sukshma sharir doesn't get disintegrated. Even when it merges into that Sat Brahman, it is not destroyed, it is born again in some other body. So, the whole idea about the spiritual sadhana is to gain the self knowledge so that our sukshma sharir also gets disintegrated. Because as long as this sukshma sharir is there, we will have to take birth again and again. So we have to gain this firm conviction that I am Brahma. I am not the Stula Sharir, I am not the Sukshma Sharir, but I am Brahma. Mano Buddhyat Ankara Chittani Naham Nacha Shrotra Jivve Nacha Grana Netre Nacha Vyoma Bhume Na Tejo Na Vayuhu Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. So when we gain this firm conviction that I am not this body, not the Stula Sharir, Sukshma Sharir, but I am Brahma, this firm conviction itself is what is called self-knowledge. And through the sadhana of nididhyasan, we should gain firm abidance in this self-knowledge. That is called jnana nishtha. So once we gain that jnana nishtha while living in this body, expressing through this body, when we gain that jnana nishtha, then we become jivan mukta. Then we are free only. But we continue to express through this body as long as the body, the prarabdha of this body is there. And once the prarabdha of this body is over, this body gets dropped, and I am no longer born again. So, what happens at the time of death? We should gain that conviction while alive itself. At the time of death, we leave this body, Sthula Sharir, Sukshma Sharir. But that one has to do it while alive, in the sense we have to disown our physical body as well as our Sukshma Sharir as not me, not I, and own our own Swarupa. that is Brahma. So when we gain this firm conviction, and with that conviction, when we die, we are not born again. We gain even Videha Mukti. While living in this body, we become Jivan Mukta, and when we drop this body, we become Videha Mukta. That's what Shankaracharya says, that though the karma of dying for an ignorant person and wise person is same, an ignorant person is born again, a wise person is not born again. Here Shankaracharya ji also mentioned that there are some people who talk about this in a different way. He says that there are some people who say that when we die, we go from our from this Brahmarandra, Annetu Murdhanyaya Nadyaha Utkramya Utkramyadi Utkramya Adityadi Dwarena Sadgachanti iti ahuhu. They say that when a person dies, a wise person dies, he leaves from this Brahmarandra and he goes through the path of Aditya, the sun, and then he becomes one with that Sat Brahma. Shankaracharya says this is not proper. Tad asat. He said this is not true. This is not proper, this is not true. Because Desha Kala Nimitta Phalabhi Sandhanena Gamana Darshanat. Because here they are talking about the conditionings of Desha, Kala, time, space, cause, etc. for attaining that Sat, the outer cause of a proper space, proper time, proper cause. This is not true. Shankaracharya says these are not true because all these factors are anrita. Anrita means they are changing. They are not. They are just expression of that Sat Brahma, and they are changing. Their conditions are not required for attaining that Sat. So nahi Sat Atmaikatva Darshanaha Satyabhisandasya Desha Kala Nimitta Phaladi Andrita Abhisandhi Rupa Padyate Virodha, because that is opposed to it. Just as the pot, if I understand the pot as clay, it doesn't require a particular condition of the pot. Whatever be the condition of the pot, my knowledge of that clay will be here and now itself. Similarly, when the knowledge happens, when the body gets dropped, the wise person attains that Sat Brahma here and now. There is no going somewhere because his Sukshma Sharir gets disintegrated here itself. There is no going or attaining something else. Yeah, because that Sat Brahma is all pervasive, it's present here. So once his Stula Sharir gets disintegrated, he leaves that Stula Sharir, his Sukshma Sharir also gets disintegrated here itself, and he attains that Sat Brahma here and now. Doesn't go somewhere else. Avidya Kama Karmanam cha Gamana Nimittanam Sat Vijnana Hutashana Viplushtatvat Gamananupattireva. So there is no the cause for this going from one body to another body, which is avidya, kama, karma, is not there for a wise person. Because of avidya means ignorance, kama, desires, karma, all our karmas, we go from one body to another body. We travel after death from one place to another, but a wise person doesn't travel after death. He gains that Sat Brahma here and now. Paryapta kamasya kritatmanastu ihaiva sarve pravileyanti kamaha. In Mundaka Upanishad also we have seen Shankaracharya quotes, the one who has attained that kritakrityata, total fulfillment through self-knowledge, all his kamnas get dissolved here itself and he attains that Sat Brahma, here and now. Ityadi atharvane nadi samudra drishtanta srutishcha. There the example was also given in Mundaka Upanishad of the river merging into the ocean. So thus, after indicating this, again the teacher repeats, कि सय एषो निमा एतद् आत्म्यमिदं सर्वं तत् सत्यं स आत्मा तत्त्वमसि श्वेतकेतो इति भूय एव मा भगवान् विज्ञापयतु इति तथा is anima, extremely subtle. It is the atma of all. It is satyam, and it is your atma. You are that Shvetaketu. Again, Shvetaketu had a doubt. And what was his doubt? And that doubt is cleared in the last section of this chapter that we will see in our class on Monday. So till then, you take care, be happy, safe, peaceful, healthy, do your work, do your sadhana, and we shall meet again on Monday. Hari Om. Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. 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 Jaya Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. Bole Siya Ramchandra Bhagwan ki Jai. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.